This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. Brought to you by Fitness World, your fitness, your way. Visit fitnessworld.ca.
We know that exercise is important at any age. In the fitness community, healthy active aging in particular has become a hot topic, primarily because the benefits are substantial when it comes to increased well-being and participation, recovering from illness more quickly, reducing the risk of chronic disease, and preventing falls. However, a lot of gym and fitness spaces fail to attract new members over 50. And when they do, there can be a disconnect for creating attainable, consistent routines, working past perceived barriers, and getting people to embrace strength training later in life. Today on the podcast, we have Anna Jenkins, who has cracked the code. She's the founder of We Are Fit Attitude in London, England. In this episode, we're going to hear all about her inspirational journey into the fitness industry. She didn't become a personal trainer until her 40s, and now she runs a thriving business focused on empowering women of all ages to love their bodies and feel fit and strong. We Are Fit Attitude is changing the narrative in the fitness industry through representation. Anna will share the story of how her community became a media sensation. It all started with a mission for website stock photos, and it became very clear that none of them represented her strong members at all. The images were all gray hair, feeble weights, and a massive lack of diversity. You'll learn how her community rallied together to do their own photo shoot to inspire other women that you can be fit and strong at any age. Before we get to it, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly featuring industry thought leaders and influencers. Plus, we're continuing our gym and wellness haven tours that feature inspiring founder stories. I'm your host, Chrissy Van, and this is ATFW. I am so pleased that you are joining me, and I really appreciate you making the time and space because I love what you're representing at We Are Fit Attitude. But first, Anna, tell me a little bit about your relationship in fitness and how it became a career for you.
I'm actually 50, and I came into the fitness industry in my 40s. So, the fitness industry in the UK is relatively young. Those that have been in the industry that are my age have been in it for a long time. I started as a primary school teacher in my 20s, left the career, it wasn't really for me. I loved teaching though, so I kind of gone back to it, but with women. And I ended up sort of jumping from one job to another and never really, I worked in events and then I subsequently worked in marketing, in business development. And in all honesty, I spent all that time in what we call imposter syndrome. I just never felt that I was the right person for the job. And even though I had, lots of friends in the industry, and I had, when I was in my sort of 30s, late 30s, I was working for this lovely CEO, female boss. I just got to a stage where I was like, this is just not for me. I don't know what to do next. And I reached a bit of a crossroads. When you hit your 40s, you're like, is this it? What am I going to do? And my now husband had said to me, Anna, you are forever moaning about your work. You're really unhappy. You don't feel like you're fulfilled. You need to do something different. You're 40. My husband's a lot younger than me. So he was like, you've got another sort of 25 years of working and being happy, and you're not happy. So I sort of ummed and ahed about what to do. And I realized, I thought to myself, I'm good with people. And by that stage, fitness was a real integral part of my life. That's an interesting part because I was very much locked in exercise and burning calories and that sort of thing. But I decided to train to be a personal trainer. And so I was working full time. I didn't really tell many people I was doing it because I didn't think many people would give me the support that I probably would be looking for. But so I just got on with it and qualified and set up We Are Fit Attitude in 2015.
Right on.
It's just not what it is today. I started out, I carried on working. I worked part-time 3 days a week. And then I started personal training, and I worked in an athletics track in London, and it had a gym, and they were great. It was a great starting point. I had a shed with all my kit in it, and I was able to start the journey of working with men and women at that time. However, I got to a point where I was probably about 2 years in, or probably about 2 years in, and I thought, is this what I want to be doing, really? Because I was standing out in the freezing cold, it'd be chucking it with rain, I'd have multiple layers on, and I just thought, I don't know whether this is quite right, because I love the interaction one-to-one, but 8 hours standing outside, kind of doing the same thing. I was starting to get a bit frustrated, and I got the most amazing business coach called Chris Brown, who'd worked in the fitness industry. He'd started his own boot camps and so on. And he really helped me completely change WAFA into a business. And so he said to me one day, you've got to take what you're doing currently with your clients and start working with groups, because that's how you can grow as a business. And I was terrified. I said, don't be ridiculous. I just want to do personal training. And he said, no, it's not going to work. If you want to reach many people, which I did, he said, you can't do it one-to-one, because you're only as good as the hour you're with that client. So I, again, had another, what am I going to do? And I just had a hunch. I thought, and I'll tell you where the women thing was born from, because I used to sometimes, when it was really chucking with rain, I'd have to go into the gym. And what I did notice was that women would come in and very often would flirt with the weights. You see them doing a few bicep curls, and then you could almost see them getting a bit uncomfortable and kind of going off to the cardio machines, because it's sort of familiar territory. And as I've said before, where the gym was, there was an amazing common with a lovely 5K walk, but they'd stand on a treadmill with nothing, and just walk on the treadmill for half an hour. And I was like, gosh, get out in nature. Anyway, so I just thought, okay, there's women who don't really understand the importance of strength work. And I'd obviously learned to do that. I'd learned it to a certain extent because of going to the gym quite a lot, but I really learned it when I was studying to become a personal trainer. And the other thing I noticed was that some women would come in, very rarely, but on the odd occasion, someone would come in fully dressed in the hijab. And because it was men and women, they couldn't take it off. So they were training in their fully covered. And I just thought, that must be really uncomfortable, and totally respect the fact they're wearing it. But I was just thinking, God, I know what I'm like when I sweat. I've got layers coming off. And so I just said to my business coach, I'm going to work with women. I'm going to give it a go. I think because I am a woman, I don't have children, but I'm perimenopausal. This is the time that no matter what, we're all going to go through it with children or not. And yeah, in June 2018, I started with 24 women. And I just remember the moment, I say this in other interviews, I just remember them walking towards me, and I just thought, gosh, this is terrifying. I taught children and I'd done one-to-one, but good Lord, 24 women. But by the end of it, I just thought, wow, this is it. This is it. I found my purpose. When you don't have children, I didn't really have the jobs I had before didn't fulfill me. WAFA is definitely my baby, and I was just given a wonderful opportunity to make it what it is today.
Well, and I don't even think necessarily just given the opportunity, because there's so much courage when we realize things that aren't serving us, but we actually take the responsibility to change them, because it can be very easy to marry the misery sometimes when we know that it's not quite right, but it's familiar. So we can kind of just stay in the groove and the crux of that. So I commend you several times for being like, oh, no, this isn't it. I'm going to change it. Swat that off the list, because it really needs to be noted. It's easy, I'm sure, to talk about it now, but every one of those steps it's not the easy choice to make the change. But I'm just so happy that you discovered the thing that you're like, I found it. And then on top of that, it's continued to grow. So talk to me about what We Are Fit attitude is now. Tell me about the space, the atmosphere, and the community.
So I have, pre-pandemic, I had 2 locations. So I was just in person, and I had one in a place in London called Tooting and another in my old secondary school. I'd literally opened it up for 3 weeks, and I had about 250 members, and a broad range of women, actually, sort of really sort of young women, sort of in their mid-20s, through to my wonderful Linda, who I talk about all the time, who is 76 now. She's been with me for 4 years. So at that time, it was very much women were joining. They wanted to lose weight. They wanted to get fit. And it was very much localized. And then the pandemic hit, and within about 48 hours, I lost 1/3 of my business. And that was an interesting time. And again, I commend my business coach. I was like, what do I do? And he was like, we've got to bring it online. So I literally was on holiday with my husband. And in the mornings, I was working on how to bring it online. And in the afternoons, I was enjoying my holiday with my husband and dog. And that's how it was for a week. And a week later, we brought it all online. And so today, we went through 2 years of the pandemic in lockdown, pretty much. And then it was quite tough the last year. I think there was a real hangover of the pandemic. And I think, like many people, because we were allowed to and had the freedom to go out again, I just assumed that my business would grow again. And I actually was very wrong. It was starting to change, and it was shrinking, and it was really frustrating. And I remember saying to the team, to Lorna, who's in my team, I said, I've got to start making some changes. And I kept the online because I just had a feeling that what I had created was quite special for the women that I was starting to work with. And that's where, the online space is incredibly crowded. So I'm just this tiny little minuscule like piece of algae in a big ocean. But I knew what I had created for the women that were with me was very special. So I had to trust that. But I worked really hard last year with the team to make it what it is today, really sort of worked on the product, made sure that it was delivering what I wanted it to do. And for me, what I'm noticing now, I think my focus really is, I work mainly with women who are 45 plus now. And having been a serial dieter, started at 17 with Weight Watchers, spent decades really body shaming myself, very self-critical, low confidence, the imposter, all of it played itself out in how I felt about myself. But I was sociable, I had friends, I was life and soul of every party. So I wasn't a shrinking violet. I just had inside, I just looked at everyone else and thought they were better than me. Just couldn't realize that actually I'm okay. And the pandemic has changed that. I've been able to, and running a business where you're helping women, it was like, well, you can't be an authentic coach if you don't have your own confidence. So I actually spent about 5 years really changing that and working. I learned what my body needed to be healthy and happy through the PT qualification. I started to respect my body more. I stopped thinking that because I was skinny and living off wine that I was healthy. I'm sure, and I know I'm not alone. So
absolutely. And it's like, not only are you having to learn all these elements, but I think it's how we grew up and what we were indoctrinated with as well. You have so much to unlearn of what we were fed, of what we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to look. And that still continues in a large degree for the generation upcoming, but at least we're talking about it now.
Exactly. And also, I think that mothers are starting to realize that they have to set an example for their children, because I love my mother dearly. She is like my best friend. So what I'm about to say is not disrespecting her, and she will say this the same, but I grew up with a dieting mother who was forever dieting, and she was tiny.
Same.
Yeah, right. And so I was, and I was the chubby kid. I was the chubby kid who ate cake. I didn't know that I was chubby. I just was chubby. But as you get older, you become more aware. And I mean, thank God I'm not a teenager now with social media. I mean, that's just a whole different ball game. You know, I find it so sad with filters and all these sort of Botox at sort of 80, all of this stuff. But the one thing I talk to the mums in my club about is I say, your job is to find a way to be more accepting of your body, because none of us are perfect. I work in the fitness industry where you are six-pack galore, you know, this kind of, you know, no fat on the body, shredded. I am not that person. I am really strong and I can lift heavy weights, but I have lumps and bumps and dimples in my bum, and I have to embrace it because this is the body I own. And I don't have children, but the one thing I would have done were I to have had children was make sure that I never talked about dieting, and that I celebrated cake and chocolate, and, you know, but also I also celebrated the food that I know is making me happy and healthy.
Fitness World's 16 British Columbia high-value, low-cost gyms are committed to helping people reach their fitness goals, whatever those may be. Exercise and movement play a pivotal role in supporting people's overall health and wellness, and it is Fitness World's mission to provide the facilities, services, and amenities to help you achieve your fitness your way. Visit fitnessworld.ca for more information.
It's so beautifully said. And I really, really love that you've embraced this message, turned it into a passion, turned it into a business. And I just came back from a fitness convention the last week, and there's such this big talk about active aging and health span and lifespan, and educating people to train for lifespan and health span and functionality as we move through the years of life. So talk to me about the importance of exercise as we get older, because it really is true. You see ads and it's someone who's 20, but it's like, we know that it serves us so well throughout the span of our entire life, not just in functionality, but mental health as well.
Absolutely. And the women, you know, when you're becoming perimenopausal and then menopausal, you know, your body is going through huge change, and, you know, you're losing your estrogen. And as we age, lack of bone density, losing our muscle mass, you know, potential illnesses, obesity, I mean, everything. And the beauty of exercising, but in particular strength training for women, is that we can help them keep their independence as they age. Being able to, you know, I always get women saying, I want to be able to get up and down from the floor without having huffing and puffing and having to hold on to things. You know, that's losing your independence if you get to that stage. You know, I've got women saying, I want to be able to pick up my kids, my grandkids. I want to be able to run around with them, my grandkids, when I'm looking after them. Well, all of that lends itself to exercise. And the positive things coming out of the younger generation is they know that strength training is important. So actually, that's great. And it's celebrated. Women lifting weights is like, yes, come on. But I am part of a generation, and the women who are older than me, who weren't that generation. For them, exercise was about dieting and weight loss and body shape. You know, the Jane Fondas, even though I loved her workouts when I was younger, you know, she was just this tiny little thing. And it was all about, you know, my mum was that era. I used to go and watch my mum in her Jane Fonda outfits, exercising, you know, but it was all about weight loss. And what I think I have tapped into is that women of my age and older are kind of looking at the younger generation going, oh, they're doing all that weights thing, but I don't know what that is. How the hell do I do that? I have no idea whatsoever. And then you have the problem of quite a lot. There's a large proportion of women who really want to exercise, but they can't get to the floor. Now, if you can't get to the floor, most gyms, not disrespecting gyms, but most gyms think they know how to deal with men and women like that, but they don't. All right. So what because I used to see women, but larger women especially, they'd come into the gym. There was no way they were going to be doing burpees to a floor. In my head, I was like, I can teach you how to do a burpee to the floor, but we've got to start you somewhere else first. Women, as we age, strength training gives us that longevity. And when I talk to my members who are just starting out with me, I'm not showing off when I tell them the weights I use. I show them to say to them, you might be starting with 1 kilo, T-kilo dumbbells now. But if you stick with this, in 5 years' time, you're going to be lifting much heavier weights. And all of that lends itself to things like, lifting your suitcase into the rack and the plane. Those sorts of things are really important for functional everyday life. And if you're not doing it, unfortunately, our bodies do start to deteriorate. That's part of aging, but we can minimize the effects of that by strength training and the cardio stuff as well. But I focus with my stuff on more strength training, although we do some cardio stuff, which is heart training, but most of it is body weights and using a set of dumbbells. It's not complicated either. It's really simple.
And it's so empowering too, when all of a sudden you do graduate between the weights, and it's amazing how quickly it happens with consistency. And before you know it, you're doing something that you would have never imagined even 5 months ago. And so I'm sure it's so rewarding to see those wins.
I'm not just blowing my own trumpet here, but I am talking to women, especially the ones that have come in through The Guardian, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that, who come in and they're like, oh my God, I can actually move now. I can feel my body changing. I'm only doing the basic movements. I'm either standing or I'm sitting. I can feel my body changing. I'm standing tall now. My confidence is, I had one member saying to me, I've booked to go and see my family in Madrid because before I thought they'd all be looking at how much bigger I was. And she said, I bought some new clothes as well and I'm going off. And she said, I'm standing tall. That's my job done.
Oh, I love that you get that feedback too, because again, none of this would have happened if you hadn't had the courage to make a change and follow what was resonating with you. And you gave me the perfect segue there, because this is how we connected, because not only are you making this massive difference within your own community, which started out with one-to-ones and then getting your groups and your groups getting bigger, transitioning online with aggressive adaptation, but then you started to make a little noise because you noticed there was a bit of a problem when it came to representation. So what happened, Anna?
Oh my gosh, talk about the next life-changing chapter in my life, and a positive one, very, very positive. Having had the pandemic and it being a bit like, oh, survival. Last year in about November, I was redesigning my website. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we were back in our location in Tooting, but I hadn't got any decent photos of my members. I just had them from my camera, my phone. And so I said to Lorna in my team, can you look for some photos for our website? We'll get them up for now, and then we'll do some photos at another time. And she came back to me a few hours later and said, okay, I've not really found much. So we were using the stock image libraries, and she said, I haven't found much, but what I have found, I've put into a folder for you. So I was like, oh, okay. So I looked in the folder and I just thought, what is this? And it was just so alien to the women that I train. And I was looking for photos of women who are my age. So, 45 plus, 50, 60, and exercising. And talk about extremes. You either had the fitness models, with sweat on their faces and the big barbells, or you had these grey-haired white women, tiny women with a set of like teeny tiny dumbbells. And the best one was that Zoe talked about in The Guardian, sitting on a medicine ball, literally as if she's about to keel over with the weight of these 1 kilo dumbbells. And I just thought, this is just not my world. You know, my women come into class, whether it's online or in person, and they may not be lifting really heavy weights, but by the end of the class, we're sweaty, we're red-faced, we kind of got that feeling, you know, that endorphin feeling. We're not all like, you know, it was just such an alien audience. And I decided to have a rant in Instagram. I literally had spent about 3 hours and I was like, I am pissed now. So I just got in, did an Instagram live, and I was just like, this is not my audience. And then I shared this with my members and said, right, I'm organizing a photo shoot. Who's in? And I had 35 members say, yes, we like this. We want to show the world what real women our age are like exercising. And it was amazing. I was lucky enough that one of my members works at the Guardian newspaper. And when I'd shared the story and I'd had my rants, she messaged me and said, Anna, I love this. Do you mind if I share this with the team to see if they'll feature it? And I said, God, no, no, any publicity, great. And I didn't think anything of it. I honestly thought, oh, it'd be great if we get something, but not really bothered. And then the next thing I know, I've got Zoe Williams messaging me saying, can I come to your hall to the photo shoot? And I was just like, God, yes, great, you know. And she came for the morning. So Zoe Williams is the Guardian journalist, and she brought her photographer, Anna, and we had our own photographer anyway. And she just spent the morning just immersing herself amongst my members. And everything that you read in that Guardian article wasn't born from me, it was born from them, my members. So from their perspective, they were as irritated as I was about the misrepresentation of women our age and older exercising, you know, because it puts people off. It makes people think it's inaccessible. But if you can't see people in the media like you exercising, then then you don't think it's a place for you. It was literally life-changing. When the photos came back, I was like, oh, yes.
Oh, and I'm sure the members too. It's like even ones that didn't participate in the shoot, I'm sure it was so celebrated to see it come to life, because they're like, yes, this is what we represent. This is what is possible. These are photos that represent all the work that's gone into these life transformations when you fall in love with exercise and realize what it can do, not only for the body, but the community that you create around it, because that's another aspect as well. I think of my own mom. She's in her late 60s, just started at a gym, just started playing pickleball, and to hear her mental tone transform over the people that she's met. And I know from what I read of your gym, the fact that your own members were the ones just threaded through that article talking about how much this has changed their lives, that's pretty special. What has happened for you within the aftermath? Because as you say, you're like, maybe this will be a little something. And now you're in London. I'm all the way over here in Vancouver, Canada.
I mean,
and I know I'm not the only one that's knocked on your door.
No, it's been really humbling, actually. I knew that what I had created was something good, but you know, marketing and awareness is quite challenging, and I'm a good coach and my product's good, but I was never really that good at business development, all that sort of stuff. I mean, the Guardian changed all of that. It told my story. And, you know, Zoe just articulated as a journalist would. She just did it beautifully with words. And it literally, I think, it just opened the doors to hundreds of women getting in touch. And, you know, I had growth plans for my little tiny business in the UK to grow and get it back to where it was pre-pandemic. But I said my plan was about 6 months to a year. In the space of 3 weeks, we got to where we want to be. And what's been even more valuable and special is that the women who have joined, they're not coming in necessarily to lose weight, but they are coming in because they want to be stronger for longevity, and they totally get it. And they're like, I just haven't been able to find a space that I'm able to do that. The gym is not for me. I feel very intimidated by the gym. Online programs generally are watching a coach jump around on a screen and try and keep up. Well, you know, if you don't know how to get to the floor, how are you ever going to know how to do a movement in the right way? And fortunately, my program is such that, you know, they are live classes, and I've adapted the movements so that I've got women in the class doing burpees to the floor. I've got women doing them from a chair, you know, so it's all integrated. So it's literally changed my business. I'm talking to women like you, and it's just amazing. It's almost like I had a crappy sort of few decades of work, and suddenly I've been given this wonderful gift to enjoy for the next, I hope, for as long as it takes. It is a huge passion. Can I just share one thing, actually,
Please.
which I think is very relevant to this? So this morning, I spoke to one of my members who's been with me. I used to PT train her when she first joined with me, very menopausal, unfit, but desperately wanted to be strong. She has stuck with me through and through. She's always done, and we always say 3 workouts a week. She's stuck with it all the way through consistently. It must be, I started working with her, I think, in about 2017, and she's been with me ever since. She's now she's now 60, and she went away, and she messaged me yesterday and she said, Anna, I wondered if I could have a chat with you. I think I want to become a personal trainer.
Yes.
And I just was like, right, let's chat. So this morning I had a chat with Lorraine. Her name is Lorraine. And I'm so proud of her. But she said, I went away for 6 weeks with my husband. She just had a moment of, do I want to do what I'm doing for the rest of my life? And she just took the courage and she went, I want to be a personal trainer at 60. So it's never too late to change and to find something that you really feel passionate about.
Oh, I really enjoy stories that have such a ripple effect, and yours is exactly that. I find so much inspiration, as I say, from doing those life pivots, because those are not easy. And then having again to do such a big pivot through COVID and getting yourself up and running in a few short weeks, to then decide that you didn't like what you saw when it came to representation. And I think when we put those elements out there in life and it's pure and it's true, I'm just so happy to see it come back to you in this amazing way and have your business grow. And I'm sure your message will continue to resonate. Before I let you go, Anna, do you have a motivational quote or mantra that you live by? And would you be willing to share that with us?
If you focus on what you lack, you lose what you have. If you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. So what that means is, if you are stuck in a space where you're in a dark space, instead of just looking at that dark space, look at everything around you that could help you, because there's always stuff around you to help you. So look at what you have, because that was what will help you find that solution.
I'm so grateful for your time today. I knew you had an inspiring story, but then again, hearing that journey from the get-go, it just really resonates with me as well. And I think when people share those leaps and possibilities and come through the other side and have an incredible tale, which I know came with challenges along the way as well, but it definitely hits people, and you may just continue sparking something within people when they have that same feeling. So I really appreciate you.
I've loved it. Thank you so much, Chrissy. I've really, really enjoyed myself. Thank you.
You've just listened to All Things Fitness and Wellness, the Industry Series. This episode was brought to you by Fitness World, your fitness, your way. New episodes of the Industry Series drop every Monday and the Celebrity Series every Wednesday. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss out on hearing from industry thought leaders and influencers. We are on a mission to help everyone live a life fit and well.